Right. Hopefully we are live. It says I've been on live for 7 minutes already, which is very bizarre. I haven't done a title. I'm going to give it a minute. I'm going to essentially cover 4 traits or 4 things that busy professional men over 40 do that helps them not only lose weight, get in shape, get fit, but maintain it. I would imagine any of you watching this who want to be in better shape, lose weight, be healthier, you've probably been able to do it a few times in the past. Maybe you lost a few pounds, or maybe you got you did a marathon and then you've kind of slipped back into your old ways. So your problem is essentially achieving the goals and then maintaining it. So we'll go into that now. Put some background music on. I don't know if it's worth having. That's not bothered with it. So I feel like there's 4 traits. I feel like a lot of men that are over 40 and busy really make it harder for themselves. And this, I'm going to be, this stuff I'm going to talk about in this live. It's not really sexy. It's not the sexy stuff, like how many calories should you have a day and how much protein should you have, or is the leg press better than the squat? Because a lot of the time that stuff doesn't matter, because the majority of the men I talk to can't seem to be consistent long enough for it to matter. So there's no real point like debating or talking about the details too much, although I'm going to come back to that a little bit in a minute when I cover these 4 things, because a lot of you just are unable to spend more than a few weeks or a month actually doing it anyway. So there's the big problem. So let's go into the first one. Where are we? Banners. Right. Trait number 1 is of men that successfully get in shape and maintain it. And when I talk about this, I kind of, in my head, I think about my clients really, because obviously I've worked with a lot of guys over the last, this is the 19th year that I've been in fitness. And obviously I've worked with a lot of people who have been successful, and touch wood, most of them are successful, but there are, sometimes a few that aren't successful, and they often fail these 4 things. Number 1 is being willing to be held accountable. Nearly every single guy that I speak to on the phone who is struggling to lose weight will say that I have no one to hold me accountable anymore, especially if you think about it, kind of it's going to sound kind of a bit traditional, but kind of head of the household. You're the dad, the husband, at a certain point in your career, or you run a business. There's very few people that may really call you out on what you do. You might get it a little bit from a partner, you might get it a little bit from friends, but there's no one there really to say, what have you done today in terms of exercise, or why have you eaten this, or why are you doing that? So firstly, you need to find people to hold you accountable, and you have to be willing to accept it. When I asked on Facebook and LinkedIn, when was it? Sometime last year, on one of the reasons why you struggle to lose weight, and one of the reasons why, the question I asked people is, why haven't you asked for help? A lot of the men said it was their ego. They were like, I don't want to ask for help. It's my ego's getting in the way. Well, if you have a bit of an ego, if you don't like asking for help, if you don't like kind of admitting to yourself that you can't do something like lose weight or gain muscle or get fit, whatever it is you want to achieve, then it's very unlikely you're going to let someone else hold you accountable, because you won't take it very well. So if you say to yourself, right, let's not even talk about coaching. Let's say, right, you're going to try and lose weight and get in shape for the summer. And you say to your partner, don't let me eat this, or make sure that if I don't go to the gym a few times a week, tell me that I'm like fucking up. Give me the truth. Like, give me a kick up the arse. I don't think very many partners are willing to do it. I don't think they don't. Mostly people don't want to rock the boat, and that's why sometimes it's better to have a coach or someone that's detached slightly. But regardless, if you tell somebody to do that and then they don't, and then they do it, and then you get moody at them, or you don't like hearing it, because a lot of people don't like hearing criticism about themselves, especially if you're a bit older and you're successful elsewhere, it's quite hard. Then the accountability doesn't work. I say this to clients a lot. If you're going to come into my program and one of the things you want is to be held accountable, because it's a remote program, I can't just, there are some that are quite close to me, but I can't drive around your house and knock on your door. there has to be an element of you saying, I'm going to be held accountable. So if I've had a bad week, or if something hasn't gone to plan, you still check in with me. You still tell me what's going on. What you often find is, and this is few and far between because I'm picky about who comes into the program, is that, you know, sometimes people will slip in and there'll be the guys that you won't hear from them. You won't hear from them for a couple of weeks. And then I'll message a few times, chase them up, do all I can. And then when they finally come back, they'll say, you know, sorry, I've been busy with work, or this has happened. Essentially, they'll give you excuses. Sometimes it might be serious, and that's for, you know, you can forgive them for that. But a lot of the time, it's just they've fallen off the wagon and they don't want to, and they've just gone AWOL. How can you hold someone accountable? So be willing to be held accountable and find people to hold you accountable, because there are going to be times when you don't want to do the stuff you need to do to achieve your goals. And if every time you have a moment of weakness, feel tired or stressed, or you have that, you let that, I was going to say, let that little voice in your head stop you, but apparently a lot of people don't have that, but you start to not do the things you need to do, then you're going to essentially, that's going to slow down your results. Possibly why a lot of you don't get results is because you don't, there's not enough consistency. I'm going to come back to that later. So that's, I think accountability is crucial. When people leave my program, I like to talk to them and find out what was beneficial, so I can obviously try to I can kind of evolve the program so it can become better and it can serve people better. And most of the time, they will say, you know, it was great having the plans to follow and the knowledge. Those things are essential, and they are part of the things I'm going to talk about. But a lot of the times, if they have to choose one thing that they needed, was someone to hold them accountable. Or in my program now, the group holds you accountable, because it's very powerful to be held accountable by multiple people. So if you're struggling to get in shape and there's no one there to call you out or make you like stick to what you said you were going to do, change that. So that's number one. Number two traits of the things that separate men who get in shape from the men who don't. They upgrade their knowledge continuously. And this, I think this will relate to where your goal is. So if your goal is to be just fit and in shape, you know, you have no aspirations of being like shredded, super muscular, powerlifter, you know, there's no extreme, then your knowledge doesn't have to reflect that. You only have to go to a certain point. A lot of you are being held back by a lack of knowledge. Let's imagine you have no idea what to do in fitness and nutrition. Most of the men I speak to say that. I don't know what I'm doing. You don't know what you're doing. You go onto Google, you Google weight loss for men. Typical, someone at the door. This is what happens when you have animals and you go live and you have people knocking at the door. So essentially, you get to the point where you don't know. It's definitely a delivery, and somebody isn't going to go away until it's answered, and it's not going to get answered. So hopefully you can edit this bit out. Anyway, knowledge. Let me try and get over the noise of the dogs. If you have no knowledge and you go to Google and you Google it, how do I lose weight? Men over 40 that are busy. I'm going to get this dog. You can join this live until the person at the door is gone. Where was I? Knowledge. Upgrading knowledge. If you don't have the knowledge you need, and let's talk specifics about knowledge with regards to business and men who are busy, who travel a lot, work away from home. You get a situation where you might not know how to put together a flexible nutrition plan. Let's take that example. So you go into it saying to yourself, right, I'm going to do a low carb diet. I need to eat maybe six meals a day. I'm not going to eat after a certain time. Maybe let's call it 5 p.m. these are kind of myths, right? These are the things that you think you need to do, and then you follow them, and then you realize after a week or two that you can't sustain it because it doesn't work. Like you end up in a hotel, you end up meeting a client for business, and you right, I'm back. Make sure I've got the right mic. Yeti. All right, that's better. So my point being is you end up with all these rules of what you think you need to do because your knowledge is limited, and then you go into situations where you might need to change something. Like you need to adapt your training plan because you go from a gym to a hotel room, or you think to yourself, right, I got to eat this diet every single day. But then I've got to meet clients and they want me to have a few drinks and I feel awkward if I don't. A good example was my client a few years ago that works in construction and meets kind of prospects before work to have a fry-up, essentially. You know, they're going to have a cooked breakfast. That's where they do business. And, you know, a lot of his business comes from these fry-ups before work. You know, what are you going to do? Sit there and say to these people, I'm dieting. You know, as men, it doesn't look good. We don't like to be constantly telling people we're dieting. So knowledge can fix that. The gaps in your knowledge will give you more options, will allow you to understand more strategies. So essentially when clients kind of leave my program, it's not so much that I've just given them these plans. I don't really want to turn this light down a bit. I don't really want to, I always say to them, I don't want you to kind of blindly follow the stuff I give you. What I want you to do is to have these plans and almost like these different understandings of strategy. So if this happens, we do this. If I miss a training session, I do this. One of the guys messaged me yesterday. He's works and he's in the police force, and he's like, you know, my day's all over the place. So if I have to go to the gym at different times, and because of January it's been busier, so I've changed this exercise for this. And it's always like, he's like, is that okay? And I'm like, yes, that is exactly why you're here, is to learn how to adapt things. And you can only do that if you upgrade your knowledge to the point where it meets your circumstances and your goals. If there's a deficit there of kind of knowledge, excuse me, you're going to get stuck. Number 3, have a support network. Again, it's kind of very similar to accountability, but really there's going to be times when you know, this is a quick one. There's going to be times when it's tough. There's going to be times when you don't want to do it. There are going to be times when you want to give up. Results going to be slow. You're going to doubt yourself. You're going to question if you're doing the right thing. Or you're just going to have a bad day, and you're going to need to lean on people to keep you going. Let's have a look. You need to lean on people to keep you going. And if you don't have that, losing weight, getting fit in the beginning, I don't, you know, at this point now, I don't know, and I don't need people supporting me. It's like, and most of the people I know don't really need support most 90% of the time. But in the beginning, when you haven't developed habits, you haven't developed the discipline, motivation can be very, very up and down. It can change depending on how work's gone or how family's gone. You're going to need to have people there to support you. And the problem is, a lot of times men not only don't have the support they need, they actually have people that actively almost don't support them. I spoke to a guy the other day that said, you know, my friends and he put in his application form, my friends and family don't really support me. And I asked him, I obviously delved into it when we spoke on the phone, you know, just certain friends that started when he was doing it, given up. They're now, you know, people say he's taking it too far. He's become obsessive. They kind of, you know, at one point they were taking the piss out of how he was doing it, even though he's the only one still doing it. And you have to have quite thick skin sometimes to do these things, but that really, it helps when you have other people in your corner. So let's, you know, take my program. You might have no friends that are interested in fitness. You might have no family members that are overly into it. You might not even have a partner or kids that really care that much. Like, you come home from the gym, you're all excited because you've hit a personal best, or you've done an extra 5 minutes of cardio, or you get on the scale, or you're a certain, and there's a certain weight or a certain pair of jeans is fitting, and people will initially be quite supportive of it, and then sometimes, like, after a while, people almost get annoyed about hearing about it. But in our group, it's obviously, my program is just a bunch of 40 plus men who have kids and businesses and jobs, who are all chasing the two things. They're all looking to the same goals. You know, they vary slightly, but they all want to just be fit, strong, healthy, and they all have the same problems and fears and all the same stuff. So when they need support, they get it, and they don't even have to ask for it. One of the guys posted yesterday a picture of himself just saying, "Back in the gym, I've been ill." One of the other guys noticed that he'd lost weight on his face and just congratulated on him. And the compliments like that go a long way to motivating you in the beginning. Like, people say motivation is bullshit, and it is long term. But in the beginning, when you're maybe in the first 3 to 6 months, maybe a year, really helps to have that. And if you don't have that, it can be quite lonely. So if you don't have anyone supporting you at home, I would say from experience, I wouldn't assume that your family and friends will support you. I would probably err on the side of caution and say they will be supportive at times, but if you're going to the bar or something, the friends will be the first people to say, have a few extra beers, stop being a pussy, for example. So if, with that, knowing that, if you've tried to lose weight in the past, you've not had the support, and it's held you back because at times when it's tough, you've kind of had no one to kind of lean on. Change that. Join a coaching program. Join a community of some sort. There's plenty of online communities if you don't want the extra coaching from someone. Or a good idea, if you can do it, which is not always easy, but find a training partner. Can be quite hard to do when you're a bit older, because sometimes you're getting your schedules to line up can be quite tough, and therefore sometimes it can be a bit hit and miss. And before, which I haven't created a banner for, but I'm going to do that now, just because I want to make sure it's visual. But consistency. And when I say consistency, I mean a focus on consistency over short-term results. A lot of the guys I work with have this kind of all or nothing mentality. You might have it now. Like, as a good example is, like, we're at the end of January. A lot of people who I'm speaking to are kind of thinking about summer holidays, whether that, kind of that's 4, 5, 6 months away. And as the time shortens, people get a little bit more desperate. And that's why you start to, a lot of times people leave their goals too late, and it forces them to focus on quick results. Not always why, but a lot of times it's a mindset thing. It's like, I've been struggling with this for X amount of time. For some reason or another, you decide, I fucking hate the situation. I'm going to fix it. I want the results now. I guess when people decide to lose weight, there's a kind of, they've peaked. The peak of their like pain or their unhappiness is realized. Somebody on the phone the other day said to me they had this oh shit moment, and it's common. Something will happen, like you see yourself in a video or a photograph, or a comment will happen, or your wife, someone will say something, or a lot of times people will say, like, their kids innocently will call them a fat dad. They don't know any better, and it hits them so hard that they're like, this is it. I'm not fucking about no more. I'm changing. And that's the best place to be, because that's genuine. That's a genuine reason to do it. But at the same time, if you acknowledge the pain you're in that moment, wanting to be out of it is only common. It's like anything in life. If something's really painful, you don't want to sit and dwell in it. Well, the problem with weight loss is that you have to for a bit. If you said to yourself, watching this video right now, feels right, I'm sick of this. I've been overweight for all my life. I'm going to change it. Well, be prepared to still feel that for a few more months as you start to gradually get there. Because if you don't kind of be patient, a lot of the time you can focus on doing the wrong things. And this is why I say a lot of men have this kind of all or nothing mentality. They do things that are extreme. not very easy to sustain. And I know it's a bit cliche now, but the cycle is start too extreme, realize you can't fucking do it, quit, get fat, and you just go round and round. So when I say, and I had this question with a guy that commented the other day with a client, he was like, I've done really well, should I be getting more results? And I said, we possibly could do this slightly, but I have to be careful with my words because it's not as black and white, as fast and slow. It's a scale. But I said, we could be slightly more aggressive. There is scope for it. But if you do that, then you have to think of what changes. Well, to make weight loss happen faster, there needs to be bigger calorie deficits and more exercise, less food, which means more hunger, more cravings, more restriction. Essentially is, are you willing to do what it takes to get the extra? And with what is going to be for him, half a pound a week extra, maybe 3/4 of a pound. Is it worth the extra effort? You could say sometimes it is because it shortens the time down. But for him, it was like he kind of came back to me and said, no, because, if I do with my business and traveling and I stay in the hotels, what we've got at the moment is is a good balance of results and sustainability and consistency, and it's working. I don't want to rock the boat. That was a good example of where he focused on consistency over the quick results. There's a patience there. So those 4 things. And really what we've done to kind of recap is, where are we? Accountability, or being willing to be held accountable. You can, a lot of guys say they need accountability, but you still have to be willing to be held accountable. If someone says you've not done X, Y, and Z, why, you can't get defensive. You have to just hold your hands up and accept, yeah, right. You have to be willing to be be an adult and just say, yeah, this has been a shit. I've been lazy this week, or I've not been committed, or I've fucked up. I need to be better. Very, very important. Upgrade your knowledge. If you're here with your knowledge and your goal is here, then something in between. So the example I used was nutrition. If you're somebody that is, and it's quite stereotypical, maybe a bit cliche, but if you're following fad diets that are quite restrictive, but you are a guy that has an unpredictable lifestyle, you travel, you stay in hotels, fly, you meet clients, then this old school traditional, every calorie, everything is the same every day. You can't eat carbs. You have to eat this many times. These restrictive diets don't typically work. And therefore you need a better understanding, you need a new strategy. Well, that's knowledge there. You need to learn that. If you typically train in the gym and you keep getting stuck, or you go from a gym to a different gym to a hotel gym to maybe using bands or body weight, you need a certain level of understanding of how to structure things and change things. That's important. Support network, make sure you have one. Don't do it alone. I think it's mental to do it on your own. If it's something you've not had in the past, don't think that your friends and family and the kids and stuff are going to be supportive. They might support you, but it may not be the support, enough support. Find a community to do that. And for the love of God, focus on consistency. Make the changes that you think to yourself, I can do this long term, so that I can gradually move forwards, rather than saying, I'm going to just go extreme with all of this. I'm going to quit drinking. I'm going to cut all junk food out. I'm going to lower my calories. I'm going to go to the gym 6 days a week. I'm going to sign up for a marathon. I'm going to go all in because I want to get there now. And then a week into the plan, you say to yourself, this sucks. I'm not going to do it. You quit and gain the weight back. I guarantee if you've struggled to lose weight, I would be very, very confident saying that most people watching this will have suffered with who have probably made, well, they probably need all 4 of those, but it won't be one. Hopefully that helps. Apologies for the dogs barking in the middle. If you would like some help with this, if you see those 4 things and think, yeah, that stuff sounds like I need that, because a lot of this stuff won't be stuff you can do on your own, send me a message and we'll have a chat.